Concentration now really important. The few seconds before these big races, these big distance races, these are the few seconds when you need to keep strong in your mind. These are the few seconds that can win and lose races. This is when you've got to stay focused on what you're trying to do and not let anything affect you around it. Liz Yelling there, number 582, running for Great Britain. Liz ran well in the Commonwealth Games, finishing 4th, qualified for the World Championship next year, but she knows better than anyone else what she expects from Paula tonight. And there's the athlete, world, European and Olympic champion at 10,000 meters. And Paula Radcliffe has never beaten Fernando Ribeiro in a major championship. Paula Radcliffe, Sonia O'Sullivan and Fernando Ribeiro, the three athletes we expect to dominate this race. But the interesting athlete from Partizan from Romania, the Russians were not quite sure whether Big Tashiova is going to be strong enough to be able to go with them. But overall, we think we know, only Paula really knows, and she's got a choice to make. Does she try and win it with a good time, or does she try and win it by changing the pace in the second half of the race?
The European champion for the moment at 10,000 metres and at 5,000 metres. What a great championship she had in Budapest. Was at the height of her powers then, Sonia O'Sullivan. Had a great race, of course, in Sydney with Gabi Jarb over 5,000 metres. Back to defend her title. As Brendan was saying, a third gold medal at the European Championships back in 1994. Over 3,000 metres. This is Partizan, who was 4th in the half marathon championships early on this year. Also won the European Challenge 10K, which is often a good mark at the start of the season as to who will perform well in the championships. And never discount any Romanian or Russian distance runners. Paula just having a little smile there. But a little bit eager to get off. They've got 25 laps to settle down.
The one thing these athletes don't do, Steve, they never practice their starts, do they?
10,000 metre final, the first gold medal on the track to be contested at these European Championships. 25 laps of the track, a wet track, a cool evening in Munich, a decent proportion of the crowd have stayed to hopefully witness a really good distance race, a really good distance performance. The front runner, Paula Radcliffe, against the sitter and kicker, Sonia O'Sullivan, with the great championship athlete, Fernando Ribeiro, thrown in just for a bit of interest. And Brendan, you mentioned the first 2 laps, of course, in Manchester, where Paula, I think, as you said, you have to get into a race, you have to feel your way into it. Every night is different, no matter what your plans are. You've got to get out there on the track and see exactly how you feel. And Paula picked it up after, what, about 700 metres, I think, in Manchester. And she wasn't to know it then as to how fast she was going to run. And I think it's always easy to look back and say, oh, if only I'd run the first 2 laps quicker, I would have got a world record. I don't think that that goes through your head, actually, at the time. But tonight, of course, she's got the chance to actually start off at a pace, if she so wants, which will give her a fast time. But I just wonder, Brendan, I know you think she may well run fast here tonight, whether she does have half a thought on the 5,000, or whether tonight the tactic's got, I'm going to run this race as hard as I think I have to run it to win, as hard as I think I have to run it to get a good time as well, and then I'll get up tomorrow and think about the 5,000. Will she have any thoughts at all about the 5,000 tonight?
Well, Steve, if she's got any thoughts about the 5,000 metres tonight, it's going to detract from her performance at 10,000 metres. These are so demanding physically, these races. The application and the physical stresses are such that you really do have to apply yourself 100%. And I said that Paula was a little bit slower the first lap in Manchester, which cost her the world record. Well, she's just taken out the insurance policy. The first lap there was 69 seconds. And remember, 72-second laps would bring her home inside 30 minutes. And there's only one athlete in history ever run inside 30 minutes, and that is Wang Yunxie, the Chinese athlete. Well, Paula knows she's running in front, she's not doing anything special, but she's just keeping it moving along. That was another lap inside the 72-second potential, and her opening 1,000 meters is going to be slightly inside 3 minutes on this basis, and that's exactly what she's planned. She's now decided to settle in the lead She's running comfortably by her standards. We know she's running well. And I've also got to say that I think these are perfect conditions for distance running. There isn't much of a breeze, if any. It's cooling drizzle rather than incessant rain. And they're going to be wet but cool as they run. And that certainly is impressive. 2:59.1 for the first 1,000 meters. And I believe Paula's trying to do two things tonight. I think she's trying to win this race, and I think she's trying to run as fast as she knows she can do. And the three protagonists that we talked about before are now settling first, second and third. Paula Radcliffe, Sonia O'Sullivan, the 3 times European champion. And behind her, Fernando Ribeiro, the world, Olympic and European champion at 10,000 meters. So Paula has got 2 of the most talented athletes in the history of this sport on her shoulder for company.
Well, if they didn't know it already, they're in a hard race. Because I tell you one thing, Paula won't slow down. She's set the momentum, she's set the pace that she wants to run at. Even though we've got pretty much driving rain here, I think it is more than a drizzle, Brendan. You might not have been outside, or if you have, it's been under an umbrella, because it really is tipping it down there. I don't think that any of these athletes would particularly relish this at all. But nonetheless, Paula will have put that to the back of her mind and put this game plan into operation. Sonia O'Sullivan, Ribeiro, already the only 2 capable of going with this. Jevtic, Botazan a little bit further back, and then Russian as well. You mentioned Ingrid Christensen, Brendan, and a lot of talk as to why is Paula Radcliffe so much better on the track. She's said herself she feels stronger. She looks different. She looks stronger. Just throwing away her photo finish number there from the side of her shorts. She's in such good nick, probably because of the marathon. I think she's just put so much work into that new event and has ended up with the sort of strength that has helped her not only be strong for the 10K, but you can maintain your pace longer, you can maintain your speed longer, even though she might not have an awful lot of speed. What she has, she can maintain it for a longer period. And if you remember, Christensen, when she was at the height of her powers, broke the world record at 5,000 and at 10,000 when she was running marathons. So absolutely no reason why you can't produce very fast times on the track when you're training for the marathon.
That's exactly what Ingrid Christensen did, and that's exactly what Paula Radcliffe's done. And if you look at it, Ingrid ran 30 minutes and 13 seconds for 10,000 meters. And Paula's personal best is 30 minutes and 26 seconds. But since then, she's improved such. Her marathon's gone faster than Ingrid Christensen ever ran at 2:18. And I believe that on that basis, if you extrapolate the results, I believe Paula is capable of running under 30 minutes. And you know, because you don't get many chances at the 10,000 meters, you sometimes have to seize them. But she's certainly doing it the very, very hard way. To lead every single lap of this race is her declared intent. She's already hurting and stretching, and she's through 2,000 meters under 6 minutes. That means the schedule for a 30-minute 10,000 meters, which has only ever been done once in history, is on the way for Paula Radcliffe. Now, Sonia O'Sullivan settling in second place. She's got to decide whether she tries to hang on to Paula all the way or goes as far as she can and keeps herself in condition to do that. But looking at the pace on the screen there, 5:57 for that 2,000 meters, and that is well inside the European record set by Ingrid Christensen. Sonia O'Sullivan now knows she's in a true distance race. And Fernando Ribeiro, who's been so supreme on many, many occasions, has never, ever had an athlete trying to do this to her. So this is revealing in every sense. Paula Radcliffe, the coaches talk about it. The preparation leads up to it. But when it comes to the track in the evening, there's only the athlete that can do it. And Paula herself has to deliver. She's got a great team around her. Her husband, Gary Locke, a former European and Commonwealth 1,500-meter runner, spends a lot of his time training with her and really does help her tremendously. A 71-second lap there, that was a little bit slower. She's led for all the laps so far, and Sonia O'Sullivan just making a little inroad into that gap that Paula Radcliffe has set. So now, as I said, this is true distance running at the very, very highest level by some of the world's greatest ever exponents of this art.
Well, there's Gary. doesn't mind the rain either tonight. He'll be keeping an eye on those lap times as well, and just making sure, there's nothing he can do about it, of course, but he'll be, I hope, making sure that he's got the information afterwards for Paula, because she'll want to pore over the lap times, I'm pretty sure, and to see how the race was conducted from her own point of view. But nothing he can do now. It's all down to Paula out there on her own, and she's on her own in the race as well, because as well as Sonia is doing, and Sonia is what, already 20-25 meters ahead of Fernando Ribeiro, who was meant to certainly be the best of the rest. Then Sonia, just having a look at the screen, will see that big gap. But Sonia 15 meters adrift of Paula, who's just run another 71.95. Paula really is setting a stall out here, even at this early stage, and I just wish we could have had a better evening for her here. As I said, she won't be making any, or I wouldn't have any thoughts about that, but for her, it's just run as hard as I set out to run. Brendan, the other thing I was going to say, as we see the rain absolutely stonking it down there, that track is soaking wet as well. It doesn't really run up this track as well. In women's 10,000 meter running, I think it's 7 out of the top 10 times, apart from that Chinese world record, which I don't really want to talk about too much, but 7 of the top 10 times are set in championship races, which is different to the men, isn't it? Is that because, as you said before, they don't get the chance to run them that often? In fact, often it's Paula who's set the pace, which has helped the likes of Tulu and the Wami and the rest of them get those quick times. But in championship races,
but that's because they don't get the many chances. As we look at Jevtic now, and I'm looking down the field, she's moved into 4th place with Botazan in 5th place, and they're catching Fernando Ribeiro. But I think Paula Radcliffe, the pacemaking style in which she runs, is the way that these athletes have been provided with very fast times. And I look at him, 3rd place, and there's Liz Yelling coming down the home straight there. We hardly see through the rain. And at the beginning of the evening, the rain was cool and it was comfortable. But now, as it starts to pour with rain, then the track surface is an issue. I think the athletes won't mind running in the rain because it does keep the body cool, which helps you to run faster. But Paula Radcliffe is ploughing it out now. She really is stretching it out, and you can see her splashing through the rain here. Well, she's done this many, many times before. And coming from Ireland, Sonia O'Sullivan has done this many times before, running in the rain. I think Sonia's running a great race in 2nd place. It's just that Paula has got those yards, has got that gap, and is now trying to execute the race plan, which is just to pour it on, keep pouring it on, keep concentrating, keep working, and keep that commitment. And don't look at the scorer. 16 laps to go. It's an awful long way to go.
Sonia O'Sullivan in 2nd place, and look what's happened to Ribeiro. She tried to go with it, and looks like she's paying the price because Jevtic has closed her down. Botazan as well. They've set off at a more sensible pace for them, certainly, and Ribeiro will have to try and hang with them as they come past her. But Paula splashing through the puddles, well, she's used to it. I ran through similar conditions the other night, and I seem to remember somebody called Brendan Foster splashing through the puddles. I think it was at Crystal Palace a good few years ago in 10,000 metre race as well, and I think he got around a pretty quick time that night.
I was just up to the wall, that, Steve. That was when they had the old tracks and we were in black and white on television. But here's Paula now, and but just look at her lap times. She knew before going into this race that 72-second laps were going to bring her home inside 30 minutes. She's got such a metronome in her mind there about how fast she goes. The last laps have been 71, 71, 71, 71, 71, 71, and 71.9. And that is absolutely fantastic. And this woman applies herself through her whole life to distance running. It's all designed as she goes through 4,000 meters under 12 minutes, 11:56. And I believe that's faster than when Wang Yuxia set the world record for the 10,000 meters. And it certainly is. It was 12:02 in that race. It's 11:56 now. But the difference that night was that Wang Yuxia came home with a world record for the last 5,000 meters, a world record for the last 3,000 meters, and just revised the formula of distance running. We won't pay too much tribute to that, but this is a fantastic performance so far by Paula Radcliffe.
as well as Paula Radcliffe is running, Sonia O'Sullivan is running a good race as well. Sonia's best is 30 minutes and 53, and she's running well inside that sort of time at the moment. It'll be hard for Sonia, though. Really will have to knuckle down and try and concentrate and try and keep her mind focused. But look at the lead, there's nobody in sight. There comes Sonia, 100 metres behind Paula Radcliffe already. Paula won by about 100 metres the other night in Manchester, over 5,000. The winning distance tonight, I suggest, is going to be a lot further. And I tell you what, there's going to be an awful lot of athletes on this track that are going to be lapped by Paula Radcliffe tonight. Now look at this, this is Jevtic in the battle for third, or leading the battle for third, just being passed by Kostadina Dita of Romania. And then the smaller figure is Bektashiova of Russia. They've just glided past Jevtic and Ribeiro, set off, as I said, at a much more sensible pace, and bearing the fruits of that as Paula laps her first athlete. Perhaps not it's the first one, but certainly piling it on at the moment. It's a bit difficult to see where everybody is in this race at the minute. They are strung out completely around this track here in Munich, as she just pours it on relentlessly. And that was her slowest 1,000 metres of the race, Bren, but only by half a second or so. But this is going to be the hard part for her, isn't it? You talked about sort of a compromise. There always comes a point in a distance race for an athlete, even if they're going so well, where they start to have little doubts and start to think, well, maybe if I just slow a little bit. There's a lap of 72.5 there, where she'll have to fight those doubts, won't she, if she wants to maintain this?
Well, just approaching the halfway point, and that was the slowest lap of the race. Sonia O'Sullivan's running a strong race in second place, but she really has to concentrate on it now, and she's sensibly looking up ahead. She sees the scorer, the screen up there, and she sees the chasing group are a fair distance behind her. This is going to be a lonely run for Sonia, but a silver medal would be a big prize for her. And let's not forget, it was only at Christmas time, she was having a second child, and now Paula Radcliffe coming through, approaching the 5,000 metre point, 14:57.6. That's the fastest opening 5,000 metres that's ever been run in a women's 10,000 metre race. The bravery, the courage, the commitment to try and do that. I know what she wants to do. She wants to run under 30 minutes. It's a great mark. It is a fantastic mark. The European record stands at 13 minutes and 13 seconds by the great Ingrid Christensen. And Paula Radcliffe is on her way to do that, but it's going to be difficult. All the way around the track now, she's going to have to run almost in the second lane. There used to be a convention where athletes were being lapped, they would move out, but they don't do that anymore. And Paula's going to have to run further every time she comes across a group. But she's not going to complain about that. She's on her way, what looks like be her second gold medal, her first ever European title, to add to the title she won in those conditions in Manchester. Sonia O'Sullivan just coming through with 12 laps to go, and she's over 100 metres behind Paula Radcliffe. And then looking behind Sonia, we're looking at the chasing group, and that chasing group is almost 100 metres behind Sonia O'Sullivan. So distance running at its very finest, portrayed by Britain's finest, Paula Radcliffe, and by Ireland's finest, Sonia O'Sullivan. I'm just looking at the conditions here. You know, for a woman who grew up in the southwest of Ireland, the rain splashing down on her, she'll be very much used to this. She's not too bothered. She's more bothered on the screen as she sees the group behind her, and she's got to keep working at it, because there are a group of them together working hard to try and move up from the fourth place to the bronze medal position. And now Paula Radcliffe receiving the cheers of this crowd. This is going to go down as one of the great runs. 16 minutes and 45 seconds. I worked that out to be the slowest lap of the race. So now it's up to Paula. You're beyond halfway. You're getting towards single-digit figures when you come to the lap score, and that's a real psychological boost for these athletes. As Sonia O'Sullivan comes down, she glances up, she sees the screen, she sees the gap, and she sees the comforting sign. 11 laps to go. Now come on, Sonia, just hang on there. The group contains Ribeiro too, so there is danger coming from behind.
Fernanda Ribeiro has rallied, and as I say that, she steps off, and I've seen her do that before. Ribeiro, if it's not going right, doesn't fancy the trip, and well, That's a sad sight to see, but to be honest, Brendan, one which might not be totally unexpected. She's been absolutely destroyed by Paula Radcliffe there tonight.
Absolutely right, but it seems to me with Ribeiro that it's first or nothing with her. You know, she wins gold medals, she occasionally gets the second, and now Paula Radcliffe coming down the home straight, passing her teammate Liz Yelling, lapping Liz Yelling, the young athlete from Bedford Harriers, who she trained with for many years when they were youngsters. Paula coming through there. Let's just look at this lap time. I think it's just slowing again. Well, no, that one's slightly faster, so she has picked it up. She has been renewed by the challenge of these lap runners, and that now is going to be her only incentive. Can she catch the next group? Can she catch the next group? And that maybe will keep her going, as she's got well inside 10 laps remaining. Paula Radcliffe, with this display of front running that distance runners all around the world will marvel at. Sonia O'Sullivan coming through with 10 laps to go, and she's about 150 metres behind Paula Radcliffe.
Well, forget that caption, to be perfectly honest, because as far as I'm concerned, that world record shouldn't even be on the books. It's a world record which I think many in the sport wish wasn't on the books at all. But Paula Radcliffe is rewriting 10,000-metre running. Wang Yongqi of China back in 1993, and indeed her teammate Huan Di, who ran 30:13, part of the Ma Youngren group of athletes whose performances in later years were certainly some doubt was cast over them, but the records were allowed to stand on the books. And I have to admit that I don't think anybody is going to be able to do what Wang Yongqi did that night. But all of these athletes, these are world-class athletes, these are top-level athletes in Europe and indeed in the world, and Paula is just absolutely ripping them apart. It's even Sonia O'Sullivan can't even see where Paula is. Paula is completely on the other side of the track. Sonia obviously thoughts on her own performance here. She's knuckling down well here. It's got to be hurting now for Sonia. The group behind her are giving chase. Costadina Dita of Romania, very, very strong Romanian athlete. Biktashiova, the Russian, just behind her, and Dita, well, I'm not sure that she's completely giving chase. She seems to be looking up to the stand for some reason, whether that's for any indication of how far behind she is, behind Sonia O'Sullivan, excuse me. But I tell you what, Paula, I mean, I don't think I've seen, well, it's because of the time she's running, Brandon. She's just running a time which none of these athletes have got even close to. She's talking about running under 30 minutes here. There's hardly anybody who's run under 31, never mind under 30.
That's right, Steve. 8 laps to go. Just over 20 minutes and 22 seconds there. Well, that was the slowest lap of the race, actually. And you can see now, Paula, not surprisingly, her brave effort to try and run 30 minutes is now coming under a little bit of pressure. She's going to have to dig deep. She's going to have to work ever so hard. And I think she's got a slight advantage here today in that all around the track, every time she passes someone, she's got another target. If she was on her own and there was a big field behind her and she wasn't lapping athletes, I think that would be a slight disadvantage. But here, she's aiming for the next one. Look, straight past and aim for the next one. You know yourself, Steve, you do that in road relays when you run in those kind of races, and sometimes you can run fast times off the back of other athletes, using them as targets and using them as athletes to come from behind. Now, Paula Radcliffe, now we know, not surprisingly, she's working so hard, she's digging so deep. The commitment that she shows to distance running, her bravery over the many times we've seen her before. It took her 9 attempts at the major level to win a gold medal, and that was in the Commonwealth Games just the other week. And now, her 10th attempt looks likely, with 7 laps remaining, to bring her a gold medal. Now, she could settle, she could take it easy, she could even think about the 5,000 metres, but no way with Paula. She knows she's never going to be in as good shape as this when she runs the 10,000 metres, and Paula's looking for another reward. Just like in London, she'd won the marathon easily, but she wanted another target, she wanted another reward, and here she is, with the same attitude of mind on the track as we know she applies on the roads and on the country. The World Half Marathon champion, the World Cross Country champion, the winner of the London Marathon, the Commonwealth champion, is well on her way to becoming a first-time European champion. As we look at Sonia O'Sullivan running strongly still in second place and doing her very best to hold up the challenge from the third group.
Well, let me just try and explain where everybody is on this track. Paula Radcliffe is coming into the home straight. Sonia O'Sullivan is just entering the back straight, so she's about 240, 250 metres behind Paula Radcliffe, and Paula now has Botezan of Romania in her sights. He's one of the better athletes, was one of the ones who is highlighting as in with a chance of a medal at these championships. I reckon there are only about 6 or 7 athletes that haven't been lapped by Paula Radcliffe. Now that's the slowest lap of the race so far for Paula, beginning to hurt a little bit now. The rain has actually eased off a little bit, but certainly beginning to hurt for Paula, and this target of 30 minutes is such a tough target. Just to put it into perspective, there's only Paula and Liz McColgan have ever run under 31 minutes. The next fastest, in terms of a British athlete, is Jill Hunter, 31:07. But for Paula, it's going to be hard now. Let's not kid ourselves, and she knows that now, but she's so close to achieving that. That last kilometre again was 3 minutes. All of her last 4 kilometres have been with 3 minutes and 10ths. Now there's Sonia. As we go back now, you can see there 1:2:57. That's Dietze, she's in second place. Then there's a little gap then to the Russian 1:3:29 there. That's Biktashiova, she's been third place.
I'll tell you what else she's doing, Steve. She's coming down the home straight. She's looking up at 5 laps to go. She's working like crazy now, lapping the athletes, lapping Botezan, who's one of the favourite athletes here. But also she's giving these officials an almighty test, because they're having to count the athletes. They're coming out on the track side, they're telling the athletes how many laps they've got to go. Some of them have got 7, some of them have got 6, and Paula Radcliffe has got 5. She's approaching the last mile of this brave 10,000 metre performance. The great names have won the European Championship like this before. Vladimir Kutz won it, Emil Zatopek won it. We've only had one British woman to have won it, a European distance race before, and that was Yvonne Murray. And here's the 3 times European champion, Sonia O'Sullivan, being beaten heavily in terms of distance from Paula Radcliffe, but she may actually be close to a personal best time in second place.
Brendan, that athlete there, 1:2:57, I've got to give big apologies to. That is Botezan, who is in the third place. It's been so confusing following people around here. She is giving chase behind Sonia O'Sullivan. Dietze was the other Romanian who just passed. That's Jevtic, who Paula Radcliffe has just gone past. And Jevtic, to be honest, has figured in major championships and hasn't been too far away from medals, 73.09. So we've now got Paula Radcliffe chasing the athletes who are following her for medals. This is just a remarkable piece of running. There's your third-placed athlete, Botezan, 1:2:57. The Russian behind her, 1:3:29. Just sort of glimpse of her. She's in 4th place, and Paula has her in her sights. There she is. She's in 4th. Biktashiova. And there's Paula. It's slowing, but I tell you what, hardly at all. Hardly slowing at all. Half a second a lap, and that just might be enough, unfortunately, to take her slightly beyond 30 minutes. But Brendan, all she really needs to do is keep in touch with that 30 minutes and maybe be able to raise a game. I hope she'll be able to raise a game on the last lap. You can always find a little extra something, can't you?
You certainly can, but she's given everything so far. Here she comes down the home straight once more. The officials are having an almighty job. Her husband's a very proud man, and he's shared an awful lot of this. Without him, she says, she wouldn't be running these kinds of times and running as strongly as she is. And there, Paula Radcliffe lapping some more runners. Well, no British athlete has ever won a 10,000 metre title at the European Championships. And only one woman, distance runner, that was Yvonne Murray, has ever won a European title anyway. And Paula Radcliffe looks as though she's only got to stand up to become European champion, but she's not interested in that. She wants a time out of this. She probably won't run many more 10,000 metres when she's in this kind of shape, and she wants the bonus. 27 minutes and 3 seconds for 9,000 metres. Now she has to run 2 minutes and 57 seconds for the last 1,000 metres to try and get that time. You know, Paula, you know she'd rather have a 29-minute time than a 30-minute time. You know she'd like to obliterate that record of the great Ingrid Christensen, and she comes down the home straight, and you know she's going to gather, she's going to try and pick it up, she's going to try and produce the last 800 metres of her life to try and win that. And I'll tell you what, Steve, she hasn't got a thought in her mind about the 5,000 metres yet.
2 laps. Kick now. Kick now? Goodness me. Well, I think she's been kicking from the very start, Paula Radcliffe. He knows that she's just got to pick the pace up. He knows that she's just got to have enough over these last 2 laps, particularly on the last lap. That 30-minute mark is something which will absolutely go down in history, I kid you not. And Brendan was right. People around the world, distance runners, will be taking their hat off to Paula Radcliffe in this performance here tonight. They are here in this stadium. I hope they get on their feet here. You just really have to understand what she has done to this field. Ripped it apart. Sonia O'Sullivan, Botazan, Biktashiova, nowhere to be seen. And I'll tell you what, would be nice for 1 or 2 of these athletes to move out and let her through, wouldn't it?
Well, except she's confused now. They don't know quite, but she's coming. She's certainly had to run more than 10,000 metres, but she comes down the finishing straight. She sees the lap scorer, and it says 1 lap to go. This is what she's dreamed about. 72 seconds for that lap. She's going to run a... She's on her way to trying to run a fast last lap. She's sprinting now. She's trying to do it. She knows that with a fast last lap, she could break the fantastic 30-minute barrier. If she can run 68 seconds, she can run under 30 minutes. We know Paula can run 68 seconds for the last 400 metres, but certainly on this lap, Steve, she's got to run more than 400 metres because she's having to lap them all the way. But there goes the great Paula Radcliffe on her way to a famous victory.
200 metres to go. It's been relentless all the way. She's led from gun to tape. She did it in Manchester to win her first title on the track. She took a gold medal over 5,000 metres at the European Championships here in Munich. The crowd are on their feet. Stand up at home. Applaud Paula Radcliffe. This is the greatest piece of distance running we've seen. Watch the clock. Paula running all the way to the line. Can she break the 30-minute mark? She's going to take the gold medal. She wins the European Championships. It's a European record. Just outside 30 minutes. What a performance from Paula Radcliffe. Absolutely breathtaking. And for her, there are no barriers. And I, for one, will salute that as a world record. Paula Radcliffe has rewritten the record books over 10,000 metres for me. It wasn't under 30 minutes, Bren, but you couldn't have got any closer. She will be disappointed with that, I know that, but she shouldn't be. She has no right to be. Sonia O'Sullivan coming in to take a brilliant silver medal. Look at the time for her as well. Sonia O'Sullivan finishing with a flourish. It's going to be a record for her, a new Irish record. A silver medal. What a proud record she's got at the European Championships. Brilliant running by Sonia O'Sullivan. Congratulations to her. She stuck to her task all the way when Paula Radcliffe left her, and it was a hard, long slog from there. And this is the bronze medalist, Botazan. A good performance from her as well. In fact, she's passed, I'm afraid. Biktashiova taking the bronze for Russia. Well, the lap counters out there will have some work to do to work out who's got how many laps to go, to be perfectly honest, but it was all about Paula Radcliffe.
Well, Paula Radcliffe once today climbed the mountain. She's absolutely exhausted, so she should be. You knew what she was trying to do. She was trying to run inside 30 minutes. She ran 30 minutes and 1 second. And the lap runners now, they're not quite sure who's finishing where, and they're giving information, but Paula has ruined this race as a spectacle, but made it as a fantastic piece of distance running history. Sonia O'Sullivan, an Irish record, a silver medal, and let's face it, she had a baby at Christmas. There's not many women in the world can do anything like that. Her parents are in the stadium, Sonia. Her husband-to-be is standing next to us, Nick Bideau. He's happy with the silver medal, he's happy with the time, but he's just seen, like we have, a piece of distance running history. The great Paula Radcliffe running the second fastest time in history, but many will consider that that was the best 10,000 metres that has ever been run by a female.